Welcome back to Going Walkabout. You're going to Mexico City, but you only have 48 hours. Home to 22 million people and over 100 museums, as well as 57,000 restaurants. Tick-tock, tick-tock. How do you spend 2 days in this amazing city? In this video, we'll go through a walking tour of Day 1 and Day 2 of how to make the best of Ciudad de Mexico. Here we are at Day 1. We'll focus on the historic center of the city. Our prime areas to see will be Palacio de Bellas Artes, Casa de los Azules, and the Zoccola, which is the main square of the city. Powered with a healthy breakfast of café con leche and Mexican pastries, we hail an Uber. Uber is prolific in Mexico City and very economical to use as well. Just ask to be dropped off by the Zoccola. You may have to walk a bit before you hit the main square. You'll know you're in the right place as you can see the tower on the main cathedral from pretty much everywhere. Mexico City's Zoccola is big, really big. In fact, the biggest I have ever seen. It is also home to the Presidential Palace and the buildings of government, plus the Mexico City Metropolitan Cathedral. Walking around the Zoccola, you can see how beautifully laid out all the buildings are, with wide porticos to hide from the midday sun. We toured around days before the celebration of Mexico's independence from Spain, and they were decorating the Zoccola. There is always something happening in the square, so count on crowds and lots of activity. As Mexico City was built on a lake, the Zoccola is the heart of where the city started in Aztec times. You'll want to make your way over to the church. At the side of the church is the Temple Mayor. This area is where it all began, only uncovered in the 1970s. They have now excavated much of the original foundations. There are many photos and renderings on the walls near the area, as well as many tour guides who will offer to take you on a tour. You can pay to go into the museum, which is partially underground. Much of the stone in the temple was used to create the Spanish buildings in the city. More about that later. If your breakfast of pastries is wearing off, a great place to stop for a late breakfast or early lunch is right across the street from the temple. It's called El Mayor. Look for the red awning. You'll need to go through a bookstore and take the elevator to the second floor. The restaurant is directly over the ruins, giving you a front row seat to the old city skyline and the ability to view the ruins as the archaeologists work below. Leaving breakfast at El Mayor, you can walk around the church. Most weekend days, the Aztec shamans perform the sage ceremony, a cheap insurance plan at 50 pesos. As you walk to the next stop, look closely at the buildings, and you can often find ones that stole pieces from the Temple Mayor for their foundations. Just down the street, adjacent to the Zoccola, is the Grand Hotel Ciudad de Mexico, one of the most iconic places in the historic area. While the views from its terrace are amazing, it is best known for a very intriguing man. Bond. James Bond. The filming of the movie Spectre begins in the Zoccola area of Mexico City and proceeds as Bond enters the Grand Hotel. The Grand is an outstanding example of Art Nouveau architecture with its chandeliers and sweeping staircases. The hotel boasts a Tiffany ceiling that floats like a kaleidoscope over your head. The fact that this amazing glasswork has prevailed through years of earthquakes is incredible. Take some time to enjoy this masterpiece. When you think that a single Tiffany lamp can go for up to $1 million, you can only imagine what this ceiling must be worth. Making our way close to our final stop in the historic center, we'll pop into the Casa de los Azules. The house was home to a single family. The decorative tile on the colonial architecture is certainly a sight to behold. However, you need to go inside to see how the other half lived. All the rooms are intact, albeit now used for cafes and gift shops. This is where people from the city come to eat. There is a more formal eating area in the main atrium and a less formal one upstairs. Their specialty are tamales. They are spectacular. We got the mole and the suiza, and they were delicious. The perfect place for an afternoon snack. Across from the Casa is the Palacio de Bellas Artes. Porfirio Diaz mandated the construction as a celebration of the beginning of Mexican independence. Due to the revolution, it was not finished until September 29, 1934. Inside, you can view the beautiful domed ceiling for free. For a small price, you can also see the museum and the stage for the opera company. The interior architecture is classic Art Deco. Last stop for day one, the Ritz-Carlton, for drinks and bites. The Ritz is one of the tallest buildings in the city, which are few due to earthquakes. You can go to the top, the 38th floor, and enjoy the views of the whole city. They have a restaurant as well as a bar. We usually opt for the bar, which has great cocktails and excellent bar bites. I usually recommend the sliders, tacos, and French fries with Parmesan cheese. As ritzy as it may seem, the prices are reasonable and the service is outstanding. Day 2. Get your zapatos on. Lots of walking to do today. Visit 2 of the city's top museums, the Suya Maya and the Museo Nacional de Antropología, both in the Polanco area of the city. We'll start at the Museum of Anthropology. If you were there on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, you may be lucky to see the Danza de los Voladores. They are Mayan pole dancers. Their flight from the top of a 30-meter pole backwards is a great way to start your tour of the museum. The museum is huge. It is shaped like a giant horseshoe. The center courtyard has this magnificent fountain, which also holds up the courtyard roof. The museum is set up so that you can go from the beginning of time in Mexico and work your way through the Aztecs, the Mayans, and up to the Indians who lived in Baja on the Sea of Cortez. It would be easy to spend days in the museum. However, as you only have 48 hours, allow at least 2.5 hours to have a look around. We'll want to make a quick stop and get a bite to eat before our next museum. We'll go to Cantina Mistica. As I have said before, there are 57,000 restaurants in the city, so it's nice to go to a place where you know the food is good and the service is great, all for a very reasonable price. Breakfast, 58 pesos, $2.50. Burritos, 95 pesos. You get excellent food and a chance to catch your breath, have a beer, and prepare for the afternoon. On to the Suya Maya Museum, built by one of the richest men in Mexico, Carlos Slim. His son-in-law actually designed the building, which is stunning. The museum is 5 floors, all of the things that Carlos's wife, Suya Maya, collected. You'll want to start on the top floor and work your way down, going from Rodin's to paintings, sculptures, timepieces, and telephones. The museum has something for everyone, and best of all, it's free on Sundays. You'll find it can get crowded by midday, so you may want to go right at opening time, which is usually around 10 o'clock. Our last stop in 48 hours is one of the top 50 restaurants in the world, Contramar. They have several dishes that only they make, like rojo verde pescado. They also have their own version of chiles en nogada, using fish instead of pork and carne. It's fun to sit outside on the street and easier to get a table that way as well. Many times the restaurant is booked months in advance. Not to worry, just show up and they will get you a seat. And don't forget to leave room for dessert. The coconut flan is delightful. And there you have it, 48 hours of fun with people you will fall in love with. Mexicans are kind, funny, and great hosts. If you enjoyed this video, you may like some of my other videos on Mexico. Finding Frida, Tepoztlan, What to Know Before You Go to Mexico City, and Mexico City 5 Reasons. I love it. Thanks so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, a thumbs up really helps the channel. Or better yet, subscribe. Cheers for now. We'll see you next week.